titled A Problem of Memory. And guys, we have a very, very special guest here with us, so stay tuned to find out who it is.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
To our AFTERBUZZ after show for Shadowhunters. Here at AFTERBUZZ TV, I'm your host, Sam Davidson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at SamD43. Our very special guest, we're going to introduce him before my other lovely panelist, Dominic Sherwood.
Me?
Hello.
Yes.
I'm the special guest.
You are the special
That's
guest.
crazy.
You are
I'm
the
not that special. It's boring.
Oh,
really,
yes, you
to
are.
be honest.
No.
I also just
boring.
got this from last time after Buzz because it's like
Yes.
bees. I
Yes.
just figured this out.
Oh my
That's
God.
cool. It took a year, but
Yeah,
you got it.
and damn, that was stupid.
That's what happens. You know, you come more and more and you start to understand who we are.
Which is
Yep.
great.
For fans that don't know, and I don't know if you know, where can we find you on social media?
See, now this is something I actually don't know.
Okay. Pretty
You know
sure
Dakota.
it's Dominic Sherwood 1.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Well, okay. We also, of course, have Dakota T. Jones.
What's up, guys? You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Mr. Dakota T. Jones.
Becca Brown.
Y'all can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV.
And please don't forget to follow AfterBuzz TV at AfterBuzz TV on all social media platforms. Tweet at us using the hashtag ABTV Shadowhunters. We got all of your ABTV Ask Jace questions.
Yes.
The million of them. And honestly,
Counted.
no, they were some of the best questions I think we've ever
Really, huh?
gotten for any guest. They're really smart, really good
Oh, yeah.
questions.
You know how,
And-
like, a lot of them are like,
smart.
oh, what's your favorite color? Or what's your spirit animal? Like, these are actually, like,
Blue
legit.
dogs done.
There we go. See, you already know.
Okay, well, one of my big questions is, because I read the first book and then I stopped because I wanted to be surprised by all
Sure.
of this, but I don't exactly know what's going on. There was a
Yeah.
lot of mention on Twitter. People were tweeting at us, asking you if, because you're now a Herondale, if you're afraid of ducks.
Yeah, so it actually is related to the family trait, as is like eye color was with. So in the books, he originally had gold eyes, and that's why we kind of brought in. Get out of here, Wire. That's why we brought in the flash of the gold eyes at the beginning of season 2,
yeah.
and that's going to keep recurring with Jace's kind of angelic talents and stuff. So it is a trait, yeah, and like we've put it in kind of like fun ways. You have to look for it a little bit. So there's like a scene when we come into the Jade Wolf and there are all the ducks, like the ducks hanging from the restaurant.
Okay.
And if you watch in the background, Jace kind of walks and goes, oh, nope, and then goes into his conversation. So it's like little things that it's never really written about, but like when we find we have an opportunity to do it, I'm like, oh yeah, Jace would totally do that, and we just like continue with the
So
story.
it's just something from the books that, like, your character just does not like ducks, and they just kind of transfer that over?
It is a Herondale thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a family trait.
All right.
And
that
he's
is so
like,
funny.
my life makes so much sense now. I've always hated ducks
Yeah.
and I didn't know why.
Oh, that's why.
There you go.
My favorite text from Sam this morning was the duck thing.
Yeah, I
I was
go,
like, wait a minute.
I text them, I go, am I missing something? Why are all the fans talking about ducks?
Yeah, it's like a huge thing. I used to live with a duck too.
Really?
Yeah, he was called Daffy. He was great.
Oh, that's terrifying. That is
My
terrifying.
landlady found out and she was pissed.
Oh, I'm sure
And
she
we
was.
sent him back to the farm. It was terrible.
Aw.
Oh.
I know, it was really sad.
Send him back to the farm. That's so sad.
I know. We thought he'd be quiet, like a really quiet pet, and that just wasn't the case.
Wasn't the case.
No, not at all. They're very hard to train ducks to
Well-
do anything, really. And we keep losing him.
They're
Like, I
ducks.
mean, he'd like turn up
Oh
like
my
behind
God.
the fridge where it was like warm by like the heating element. And I'm like, dude, you've been gone for like 4 days. Where
Oh my
have you
God.
been? Like,
So you can't, like, teach him to sit and, like, roll over and,
no,
like,
but he,
shake?
like towards the end, it was really sweet. So like when I'd come into my apartment, he'd hear my keys and he'd run to the door and would sit on my feet until I picked him up and cuddled him. It was really cute.
How sweet. How kind.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Now I wanna
Jace
pet
doesn't
them.
like ducks,
No.
but Dom,
Dom does.
loves,
Dom loves ducks.
Dom
yeah.
loves ducks.
Super into ducks.
Since we're talking about the Herondales and we have you here, you know, we don't get a lot of mention at this episode, but I just want to talk to you, Dom, a little bit about what it was like for you as an actor being able to give this character so much relief from finding out who his family was.
It's very short-lived. It's like Jace having a good time that doesn't really happen so much in Shadowhunters. I think we kind of have seen all of Jace and his happiness. That's already happened. That's what the writers keep telling me anyway. Like
That's all
it's
you
not
get.
getting any better in
Oh,
the future.
that's so sad.
What we've filmed already, it gets as bad as it can get. And then the writers were like, well, it gets worse season 3. And I was like, how?
Oh my
Because
God.
it's literally as bad as it could be. Like the worst thing that could happen to a human being happens, and then they're like, yeah, it gets worse. I'm like, oh, tight. Sweet, that's gonna be awesome.
Jeez.
Wow, someone was on it with the sound effects.
Yeah,
That was
on point. Well, we also want to touch a little bit on what happened this last episode, episode 14, which was this Sealy realm and the kiss-off.
Kiss-off.
Call it a kiss-off.
Yeah, hashtag Jace, Clary, Simon kiss-off. I'm not good at hashtags.
It's okay, me neither. But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head,
I think so, yeah.
That was an intense whole scene. Like, you guys go together, and it's already bad enough that you guys have to be in each other's presence. You know, it's kind of a lot of tension. But then seeing whenever you're talking about how, like, oh, Simon has gained our trust. He's a great friend. He kind of gets all excited, like, oh my gosh, I'm finally getting Jace's, you know, trust and affection.
Well, I think what's important. I've said this a couple of times over the press we've been doing for this season of the show. I think it's important to remember that no matter how tumultuous the relationship between Simon and Jace gets, they do share this secret between the two of them, and they are connected in a certain way. In that Jace turned Simon into the Daylighter. He literally like sacrificed his life to save Simon's. There is love there between the two of them, and obviously this kind of pinnacle in the middle is Clary, and they're both head over heels in love with Clary. So they're never going to be, you know, holding hands going out for ice creams, but they do have affection for one another, and they're important to one another. And I think we saw, as you said, that very briefly within kind of the Sealy court, and he, you know, Jace doesn't. The main reason, and when I read it, that was my focus point. The main reason he doesn't want Simon to come with us to the Sealy court is because it's dangerous. Yeah. He can't protect himself, and as you know, Simon and Jace both proved, like, it's dangerous, and he almost got killed because of it. The kill tree almost got him. Like, it's dangerous there. It was affection. It wasn't aggression.
Yeah, and
he truly cares about.
He does.
That's sweet.
Deep down.
Like,
way deep down.
Yeah, and in the last episode, even when you're talking to the Sealy Queen, you say Simon has been a huge asset for us, and it's as though, you know, like, you have a parent you think is so disappointed in you, and then they go in public and talk about you, and you go, whoa, you think that about me?
Yeah. Well, and that was a nice moment for the two of them, and, you know, it's been said before, Jace mentioned it to Imogen Herondale when she arrests him. He says, look, he's a friend, like, I think this might be a bit much. And for him to say this to, you know, not only his newfound heritage, like his new family, but also to, like, the absolute boss of the bosses, that's a big thing, you know. So there definitely is that affection there between the two of them.
I love that. And, you know, obviously there is a big just problem because Clary kissed you, and that's when the vines got loose. And, you know, we're feeling the aftermath of that. This episode, essentially, especially for Simon, is the aftermath of that kiss and what it did to him.
For sure, yeah. It sent him way down the rabbit hole, and, you know, he's lost so much, and there are so few people for him to. Simon and Jace are actually very similar in many ways. Like, they love unconditionally. They'll sacrifice anything and everything for the people that they care about. Right. They're very lonely in this world, and keep getting given kind of these new challenges. Like, Simon became a vampire and then became the Daylighter, and Jace, you know, was cool and then met Clary, and then Valentine's his father. No, Valentine's not his father. Now you're a Herondale. Now you're head of the Institute. Like, they're very similar, and their journeys have actually been quite close to one another. So this is the culmination of, in my opinion, Simon's loneliness in the world and his need for some sort of validation as a vampire and as a Daylighter, and he obviously chooses the wrong path, and it's almost the end of him. Yeah.
What did you think about the scene with you and Izzy? Izzy telling you, back down, brother.
To back off. She's right. That's what I would tell my friends. That's what I would tell my brothers. Like, she's absolutely right. The issue is, you know, Jace's heart isn't in the wrong place. He's just in love, and, you know, as we all know, love makes you do crazy things, stupid things, and that's where Jace is at. Like, he's the same as Simon. He's just desperate for that kind of community with another human being, like that kind of affection, and he gets it from Alec, but Alec is kind of doing his Magnus thing, and that's great. Like, Jace wants him to be happy, but Jace is kind of on his own again, and like, you know, same as Simon is, like, he wants that, and he knows he can get that. He knows he can achieve it because he felt it from Clary. Right. So it's tough, but, you know, Izzy's absolutely right. I would have said the same thing.
Yeah, it's so sad because you were kind of backing off, and you were like, okay, I'm gonna let them be and let them be happy. For sure, yeah. And then with this whole kiss, like, the way she kissed Simon was just like a nice little peck, and then whenever, you know, she just kind of went to peck you guys like really had a moment. And so knowing that, you know, that you can't lie, like, Sealy's can't lie and everything, and this like is true. I mean, I don't want to say true love, but there's a true connection, maybe a lot stronger than what her and Simon have right now in a different way.
Different, yeah. That's the best way of putting it. Is it's an entirely different love that Clary feels for Jace and Simon, and I think the reason this kind of situation got so convoluted is that Clary can't distinguish the two. She can't distinguish what love as a best friend and love as, you know, the person you want to spend your rest of your life with, because essentially you want to spend the rest of your life with both of those people, but in different ways. So it is tricky to, you know, I've definitely found myself having feelings for a couple of my close friends over the course of my life in reality. So it is tough at times to really draw that line between what is love and what is friendship.
I mean, I say let's just do a throuple, you know?
A throuple?
And let's just do it.
I think maybe let's write Clary out there and it just be Simon and Jace.
Simon and Jace romance,
I think that'd be the way forward.
Yes, that's right.
I ship it. Season 3.
Season 3.
Yeah.
Season 3 is going to be the Jaimin season.
Yes.
That scene where she had to choose, though, like, I physically felt my heart breaking in half. I'm
poor
like,
Simon.
aww.
It was brutal.
Yeah.
Like and you know, I've been saying this all day. Like, I didn't get to see what Alberto did that day because I'm making out. Like, I very rarely kept my eyes open for that. And I watched it and I was like, oh man. We suck, dude. We're terrible people.
You're like, I
he was
even
so
feel
broken.
bad.
I did. I felt awful. Yeah, it was really, really horrid.
Man.
And then as we know it gets worse.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Jace and Valentine a little bit. You know, we get more backstory to Jace's family. He asks about his mother, and I really liked it. I feel as though, and tell me if I'm right, it's going to dribble throughout the season that we're going to find out more about his family.
About his Herondale roots?
Yeah, his Herondale roots.
So we're actually going to find more about his more recent past first.
Okay.
We're going to do more of a discovery towards Jace and Valentine's relationship, and also Jace, Jonathan, and Valentine's relationship. We're going to discover a little more of that throughout the rest of the season. So that's something that we're going to look into a little bit more. Of course, Herondale is that is who Jace is, so we're going to constantly have an underlying theme of there is this responsibility of being this kind of Shadowhunter royalty, as it were. But first, we've got to kind of finish the problems that we're currently dealing with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta. The thing about this show
What's now?
Yeah, not only are there so many books, and I feel as though this is a show you can watch it for sure. We do. We didn't read the books. I read the first one. That's it. But you know that there's so much history. Like, they have so many plans. This is a long-running situation. And, you know, there's different ships people have that are kind of just in the moment.
Yeah.
Ships, perhaps.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about.
You know what I'm saying? Everyone, it's so funny because like everyone wants to find like a ship name for it, but like every time someone's tweeted us about it, it's like Jace Maya. Like
That doesn't make any sense.
Jace / Maya, yeah. Or
So it's like
I've had
Jace.
Jaya a couple of times.
Jaya,
The other
I like
one-
Jaya.
The other one is Mace, and that comes about with very negative.
Yeah, Mace, I'm like, no, that's what you spray people in the eyes
not
with.
into that.
And I don't think Maya definitely does not. She does not want to do that to you.
No.
But it's fun that we got that. Hopefully we'll get more of that. And we have a lot of questions about that. But back to Jace and Valentine. Do you feel part of Jace is holding on to Valentine a little bit because he sees him, he knows about his history, he has answers for him, and that he might still feel a little tiny bit of a connection with him?
Yes, absolutely, and we don't really see it at all, but for the briefest of moments in episode 20, and it's unspoken. It's literally just like eye to eye, and it's on my face and it's on Alan's face, and it was something that wasn't really planned. It wasn't in the scripts. It was not something that we didn't talk about. It just, you know, this event happens, and Jace and Valentine end up very close to each other, and we both felt it in that moment. That's what came out. That's just the kind of the natural discovery of the emotions that these characters were playing, and then obviously through that, what Alan and I have been through filming all of this and discovering these characters for ourselves. So yeah, there's definitely something between them for sure. And we've, you know, I've been saying this again as well, like, people forget that we revere Jace as this hero, as this like selfless like Shadowhunter who will, as we said, will do anything for the ones he loves and blah blah blah. But he was raised by Valentine. That came from him, and in some manner or like that Valentine instilled that in him, that is his duty. And you can see him as a villain, and he is a villain, but Jace got some of his qualities from Valentine. He did, and he's become this hero because of it.
Yeah, whether or not that, you know, you're actually his son or not, he did help you grow, and he helped
100%.
you.
Yeah, 10
like,
years. He raised him for 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, you can't just like throw that out the window. That's something that happened. So it's like whether you like it or not, you do have like a connection.
Agreed.
And you would do anything for, you know, your friends, but
Absolutely.
you still have a connection with him.
You know what's interesting is, so try and think about it this way. Try and think about if Jace was in that situation and he knew he had to do something that was absolutely right. Absolutely. But he had to like destroy the people he cared about to do something that he thought was absolutely right. Say, you know, saving the world. But he'd have to, you know, hurt Alec or hurt Izzy or hurt Clary. Like, but it's saving the world. You know what I mean? And that's
like
Valentine's dichotomy, is that he doesn't really want to hurt Jace. He's got no animosity towards him. He loves Jace.
He does love Jace.
He
Yeah,
absolutely
you can
loves
see
Jace.
it.
Yeah, 100%. But you know, he has this ultimate plan, and he
Right.
believes that is the best way for the world to be in the future. And if you can change the world, what wouldn't you sacrifice? And that's the really interesting dichotomy through Valentine.
It's like he has his own agenda, but he almost offers you like, do you want to be a part of this? He gives you the chance to be a part of it.
That's what he wants. He wants it to be, you know, his version of father and son.
Yeah.
Like changing the world for, in his view, the better.
I feel like Valentine definitely has more love in his heart than the Sebastian #2 guy.
Yeah.
that we
Oh
were
God.
seeing.
Oh, man.
We'll get into
that
that.
we're gonna get into.
Before all of that, let's get into Simon. You know, this is a very pivotal episode for him, and I just want to give a shout out to the Bleeder Den.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know if you guys watched True Blood, but it was very true. I loved True Blood, so I was into this Bleeder Den.
It was cool. Yeah, it's interesting, like, because I did a vampire movie as well, and there's always like a version of systematically feeding off like human beings who volunteer to do it, because they kind of throughout like vampire history, the bitee always gets something out of it, always. So it's interesting that it's done in, so as you say, like, you know, so many different vampire media forms. Like it's always covered in one way or another. And I think my favorite thing was the stunt, that poor stunt guy getting thrown behind the bar, and into, like, they showed me the raw footage the next, because I wasn't there. They showed me the raw footage the next day, and did they use the shot where the glass comes into the camera? Was that in it still?
There was a lot of glass. I do
Right.
know that. Yeah.
And it was an accident that happened in real life. He hit the wall and then came off and hit one of the glasses, and it just got shot towards camera, and it was all in like slow motion. So that was amazing. It was really good. And then like there's always that really uncomfortable after a stunt that looks like it hurts. There's a really like odd, eerie silence. Yeah. Until you just see like a thumbs up from behind the bar. Like, yeah, I'm good.
We're good.
Okay, cool. Everyone's good. We're good. Okay, great.
I love that.
That's amazing.
I mean, Simon definitely, we heard he was going on a darker path.
Yeah.
And you know, we're very much...
We didn't know how dark.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're very much starting to see that. I understood it, though. You know?
Yeah.
You're having a real hard time. You just want to go and blow some steam. And we have this guy, Quinn, who is one of Simon's fans, kind of, his daylighter fans.
Yeah.
And, you know, Simon needs a friend. He wants to go out and have some fun, and it sure did look like a lot of fun, but the problem was he woke up the next morning, and, you know, he was blood everywhere. Clary's knocking on his door. I love that. I loved when he opened the door, actually. He had blood everywhere, and he was able to get it off so fast, and he opened the door to Clary,
and
like,
he just, like,
I'm
leaned up
pissed at
against
you,
the door.
and I'm sexy.
Like, hey, nothing's up. I didn't, don't know what happened last night. Nothing's up.
But like the emotion that he got out of this scene, because he finally allowed face to face for him to be with Clary and to talk about this. And whenever she cannot tell him that she does not have feelings for Jace, and she still doesn't know, he pushes her away and is like, okay, well then I can't be a part of your life. Yeah. And he was so torn, but he made the decision that he thought was best for him, which I don't even blame him.
No, I actually agree with him 100%. I would have done the same thing.
But she's like, but wait, I want both of you. And I'm like, all right,
enough's enough, Claire.
A little late.
Grief. What more do you want from us?
Yeah.
Like, Simon,
right?
you killed, so he's died because of you.
Right.
All fair. You brought him back and whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, Jace has almost died a bunch of times, and then got like kidnapped and tortured, and then was in love with his sister for a little bit. You know what? Clary needs to calm down. Clary needs to back off. That's
let's just put the emotions and
Just
everything
no
to the side.
right now.
Right.
Yeah.
We've got bigger things to attend to.
Take a break.
I know. I do feel really bad for her, though, because that's such a hard situation to be in. You both are so great, but when Simon says that line, look me in the eyes and tell me that you don't have feelings for Jace.
Right.
And she did admit that she did, but he is what she wants right now.
Right.
But he sees this as a lifetime.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, why would he have made any other choice than that. Like I would have done the exact same thing that Simon did if someone had said like, yeah, like I want you for like now for a little bit or whatever, and then probably gonna end up with Jace. Is that cool? Like, can we just do this for like 6 months or whatever? Like, absolutely not. Get out of my face.
Yeah, get out.
No way.
He's like, I'm already gonna live forever, and it's gonna be super hard when you die one day.
Exactly. Yeah.
So give me a break.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important to remember that because in the last episode, the Seelie Queen brought it up that you're gonna live forever, and the Shadowhunters stick together.
Yeah.
And they are not immortal, and they're selfish because they only have a certain amount of time to live. It actually made a lot of sense.
It does. Yeah, absolutely does. You know, as we said, that's how Seelies behave. They're very literal. They don't lie. Like, they believe a certain way and will behave a certain way, and that's what that is. And we'll see more from the Seelies later.
Yeah, that's what I had predicted. I predicted that now that everything's going on with Clary, he's gonna listen to like the Seelie Queen and be like, I kind of want to go back and talk to her because she was right, and I am alone, and I am gonna live out the rest of my life, and I'm never gonna die, and they're gonna still be in their pack. So it makes sense, and I feel like he might go back to see what she has to say.
I ain't saying shit.
Don't get yourself in trouble.
I feel like it's like a sidekick situation. Like, she's the sidekick in the
You know what's
situation.
interesting? We don't know. We don't know yet what becomes of that relationship. We don't know. It's touched upon but not covered in season 2. That's a season 3 thing.
Ooh, interesting.
We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with that yet.
Well,
are there plans for like all through season 3 and like season 4 at this point?
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
I don't know.
assuming it's
Again,
gonna
I
get
don't
picked up
know.
for season 4.
I mean,
Yeah.
of course, that's always the goal. Like, but we don't know. We have no idea. Like, I know like little bits, but I can't tell you any of that without giving away what happens at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know like tastes of, but mostly based on because of what happens in the books.
Yeah.
This has happened, so that then has to be the next thing that's going on because this has happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, but I don't know any specifics yet.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little about this Raphael and Simon because it pertains to Jace specifically.
Yeah.
I was, Simon goes to his vampire, what are we calling it?
Hotel
Raphael's.
d'Amour?
Yeah,
right?
Hotel d'Amour,
Yeah.
of course. I haven't heard that word in a while.
I know, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Hotel d'Amour. And he wants to crash and get some safety because the police are after him for the murder of this girl. And Raphael says that he can stay with him, but he wants to know how he became a daylighter. And Simon, this is the reason why Simon's going so crazy is because of Jace, essentially, and Clary. So for a second, I did think
He was going to spill the beans.
he was
right?
going to spill the beans.
almost was certain that was going to happen because at this point, your character has ruined his life in a sense without him really trying. Like, Jace has no ill intentions
No, of
towards
course,
Simon,
it was
but
completely accidental. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, and that would have been the way to get rid of Jace. And I think the thing that's interesting about this episode is Simon coming to terms with mortality being his responsibility. And as a vampire, that's always going to be on your mind at some point. Like, that's always going to be the case that your instinct is to kill other human beings or Shadowhunters or whatever. Like, and if he'd have told Raphael, that would have been essentially signing Jace's death warrant because every vampire to exist all over the world would want a piece of Jace.
Yeah.
What would that look like, essentially, because they wouldn't want to kill you?
No, it would probably be
You would be a prisoner?
if I had to guess, like a kidnapping, like blood bag kind of vibe, like chained up and force fed and like obviously forced on a drip to give blood systematically to the vampires.
Yeah, there'd have to be like a 10-year wait list, you know what I mean? Like,
that would be the thing as well, is it would start a war
Call and make
within the
reservations.
vampires because they wouldn't want to share with
and they
other
wouldn't want to
vampires.
wait.
Yeah, and I love the Vampire Diaries. Many of you have watched that too, and the after show that I did for it. But there is a storyline in one of the seasons that the main character is just she's a blood bag essentially because her blood does something special. So I love vampire stuff, and I love how we see the same things, like you said, over and over again in these different stories in different ways. Then, of course, like you said, we got that really cool scene where Simon takes out Quinn and Clary's there, Luke is there.
That was intense.
Yeah.
Stick thing.
I'm really digging the whole Luke being the dad
Me too.
of everybody. Thank God for him.
Yeah, we want to keep that going for as long as we can because Luke is kind of like our guiding light and our connection between what we're seeing more and more is the old breed of Shadowhunters, like the Clave and the older Downworlders as well, trying to fight against the younger versions of each other. So even within like Luke's pack, like the older ones are like, we're done, like you're protecting Shadowhunters, we're out, like we want to go. And Luke is the connection between them and like Maya and the new ones and all of those guys. So we're seeing that more and more, and Luke really is the only connection in the Shadow world that is bringing the two generations together. He's really the only one that's doing that, especially because he used to be a Shadowhunter.
Yeah.
He is like the kind of shining light for the entire story, and he does bring everyone, including mostly Simon and Clary.
Yeah, and if it weren't for him, I really feel like none of the
No
wolves
one would be
on
friends.
would be on board with him.
No, well, and also very few of us probably would have survived. Like you know, it's not seen so often in like a physical sense, but very often if you look back throughout the seasons, the information we get comes from the police. It comes from Luke. Very, very often the intel that the Shadowhunters get to complete our missions comes from him. So like, I honestly don't think we would have succeeded in half as many missions without Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I love him, and I'm a big fan of Raphael too. We see this character Ollie, that she does get her memory erased of Simon.
Right.
You know, it's the compulsion, whatever you want to call it. I do think she's going to have some kind of significance.
Yeah, again, we don't know. Like, so something comes up right at the end of 20 where we were all a bit like, oh, that's interesting. That's a real one that we weren't expecting from this character, but we still don't know why, or you know what her end goal is, or like where she's come from, like any of her motives. We don't know any of that yet.
Yeah, she definitely tapped in on some information though. She has a photo of like one of the wolves behind the restaurant.
I was like, she's gonna find out.
Well, the thing is, she did show it to her girlfriend Samantha, who has not been compelled, and they don't know that she has seen anything. So I have a feeling we'll be coming back to that. Then, of course, to end Simon's storyline, we have this Clary and Simon moment where he just says, "I'm going to stick to my word. When we kissed, I promised we'd always be friends no matter what, but I need some time."
Yeah.
So, fair enough. He's going to take some time.
And he said, I don't know how long, so I mean, he
About
could be
2
gone.
weeks.
Yeah.
Concentrate on his
Episode
music.
16, I can probably tell you that.
All right, I'll be back.
Yeah.
Well,
That's how TV shows work.
Exactly.
That's right.
Well, this show
we
specifically.
assume like a month has happened in between these episodes. It hasn't. It takes 2 weeks. Exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, this show, time has moved so fast that we think it's been so long, because we've been watching this show for 1.5 years at this point.
It's been about 2 months. Shadowhunter time.
Yeah.
It's been about 2 months.
Dang.
Yeah, that's everything has happened in that 2 months.
That's crazy.
That stresses me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, when you think about it that way, yeah, it's like a very 24 style like show in that point, because we've
a
been
great
like,
point.
apparently we haven't slept.
I know,
at
I'm
all.
like,
We've
when
been
do you
so
sleep?
much non-stop the entire time.
I've said that before. I'm glad they're starting to show Clary's bedroom,
Yeah.
that she has one, you know, thank God.
Does
Yeah.
she use it?
She uses it to sit on the
She
bed in
goes to
despair
cry.
a few times. You
Okay,
know?
so we haven't seen that yet. Yes, we do see it.
Okay.
We do, yeah. Oh no, of course we haven't. Yeah, no, we do see the bedrooms more and more.
Good,
Oh,
because
okay.
I would like
Not
to
like
know
Okay.
that they get some sleep.
They get a healthy amount of sleep.
Yeah. Let's talk about Magnus's storyline a little bit. You know, we get his backstory, one of the reasons he feels as though he's such a tortured soul, and his mother killed herself, basically because she thought he was an abomination.
Yep.
So freaking sad.
Yeah.
And then he killed his stepfather.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really by accident.
It was kind of left fairly ambiguous in the scripts. My opinion is he absolutely did not want him dead.
He wanted to hurt him.
He wanted to stop. He wanted what was happening to stop happening. That's what he wanted, and it went too far. And so I don't think he wanted him dead, and I think that is exactly why he's tortured by it. Because if he wanted him dead, he succeeded. He did exactly what he wanted. So I think the reason he is tortured is because it's not what he wanted. In fact, the opposite of what he wanted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just so sad to see him like this, because he's always like, Alexander,
Positive.
we can't, hold secrets from each other. But then he, has like this big secret, and seeing him kind of open up to Alec a little bit and be like, I need to get this off my chest, and how Alec is just still there for him and is not like horrified by him and understands
Totally.
him.
And I was talking about this earlier. I think fans forget sometimes that like that it's been 2 months since this has been happening. So they met and they fell in love in those 2 months, but they don't know enough about each other for Malik to really be a thing yet. Like we're starting to discover more and more about Alec, But Magnus has this whole past, thousands of years worth of past that we don't know. Alec doesn't know. Like, they don't know that yet. So how can they be a couple when there's so much to discover about each other?
Yeah.
The whole thing is we have to learn more about them. They have to learn more about each other and discover each other before, you know, it can just be like Malik is a solidified thing. They have to discover these points of each other, and that's the reason they keep arguing. You know, because they don't know enough about each other. They take risks with each other. Like Alec more than Magnus kind of, you know, he makes mistakes. He asked for the DNA sample, for example, and if you know more about Magnus, he would have said absolutely not. There's no way he's going to give me that. Like, there's no way he's going to be happy about it. Like, that shouldn't happen. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing towards Malik or Magnus or Alec as individuals. It's just something that has to happen in a relationship, is discovery. You have to learn about each other.
Right, because it's almost like, I feel like a lot of shows, they'll like put couples together and be like, we're together forever, like we're the best couple ever. And it's like, no, in real life, you have to, like, you find someone, you start falling in love with them, but then not until the relationship has gone on and gone on, you learn more about each other, and then you deeply fall in love with each other. So, yeah.
It's a good point, because, like, yes, Malik is great and stuff, but when they first got together, I'm like, I don't see, like, the chemistry isn't fully there because you don't know about it.
Well, it was quick as well. Because we don't know about each other. It happened all of a sudden. Like, look, my opinion, and it's not necessarily a popular opinion, I don't think people fall in love. I think you grow to love people. I think you meet someone, you have a connection, and this is, you know, speaking from real life. I think you meet someone, you have a connection, you start something, and then it grows and it grows and it grows, and you learn more about each other, and you learn, like, how to behave with one another, and like what the other person likes and dislikes, and, you know, the physicality and how you behave with one another, and then you kind of wake up one day and go, oh shit, I'm in love. That's what happened. You know, it isn't just like love at first sight. I think it's very rare that, like, the Romeo and Juliet thing happens. I don't see that in my experience. I don't see that as like a logical way for humans to react to one another. I think it needs to grow and it needs to evolve, and I think that's what we're seeing with Malik.
I love that. Yeah.
Every episode that they have a scene together, I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling this more.
And it will, and that's evolution of any form of character and any form of relationship, is it has to evolve, it has to grow, and they have to have setbacks.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Sebastian in this episode. So
basically.
Oh god. Oh my god. So we meet this woman, Aileen, who is his cousin, and everyone knows her though.
Yeah, which begs the question earlier, like, why didn't we text her? Like, why didn't we just, like, hey, Aileen, like, your cousin's here, do you know that? That's, like, weird or whatever. Like, we all know who she is. Jace has made out with her a bunch of times. Like, we all know who she is.
Good. I'm glad that,
point.
I do remember that, actually, from reading stuff. Just, you know, she has been an important part, and I'm hoping she will continue to be an important part. She comes in, and Sebastian, you know, he's been gone for a while. She's very out of character for him. It seems as though she might be starting a tiny bit to pick up on that he is not himself. And then we do see again that other Sebastian, I'm assuming the real Sebastian, is locked in bad Sebastian's closet, being tortured.
There's a lot of Sebastians.
There's a lot of stuff.
I was like, whoa, there's more than one.
It almost makes me think. It almost makes me think that in the very, very beginning, whenever he like lends his home to Izzy for a while, that was the real Sebastian. Is what I'm thinking.
That.
We don't know, obviously, but. That's what I'm thinking, because he was
I can tell you that's not the case.
I think you guys are being optimists.
Which again is another, like, we're such terrible Shadowhunters. Like, how did Izzy not notice that there was, like, a person chained up, like, banging on doors the whole time? She's like, oh, that's weird. You got, like, a loud, big dog or something.
Yeah, it's just the air conditioning. Don't worry about it.
And also, like, him, like, burning his hand. I'm like, what?
Yeah, burning his
hands. That's not normal.
Yeah, it was, I mean, originally in the script, that was even worse. He was, like, shaving and started to peel off layers of his face.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really brutal.
So basically, so far, it's always been this
other
version who's kind of been leading a double life. Then.
Yeah. Until this moment, you've only met the one, and then in 15 you meet the other.
Yes.
Wow.
Kind of.
Okay.
So, you know, that brings us into Valentine stuff, because they're supposed to take him to Idris. They go through the portal that Magnus creates, and he's not there behind him.
Again, we suck. Like, we messed up again.
I know. You guys are walking all like, we got this, we got this through the portal. Like, turn around. Where is he? I don't know.
Yeah.
How embarrassing. Like, you like,
So embarrassing.
you know, you bring someone, be like, this is like the most wanted prisoner ever. Like, we're gonna transport him to like a higher security area.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops, he's not with us. Like, what?
Yeah, just like, we're just the worst. It's really bad.
Hey, but at least they're not all dead yet. So.
Yeah, everyone.
That's,
yeah,
that's
They're not
true.
all dead yet.
Yeah.
I love your reaction though, because you're trying to keep it cool because you're in front of all these, you know, big wigs, and you're trying
Well,
to.
Malachi is the head of the clave, so
Yeah.
this was a big person to mess up in front of.
And your face, you're just like, crap.
Oh
Like,
man.
keep it cool.
It's
Maybe
just
he'll
like,
come
we
through.
don't know.
Yeah.
What did
That
he
was
say?
pretty terrible.
Because they always say, you know, instead of hell or whatever, angel.
By the angel.
By the
Dead
angel.
angel, yeah.
But what was his name again? The
Malachi.
head of Malachi. I think he might have said something a little different. It basically was like, what the hell? But it just had angel thrown
What
in there.
the angel or something
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
like, what
Yeah.
the angel?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah, we do a lot
Yeah.
of that kind of like, we're saying something rude, but not really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because the
that's
word
how we get
angel's
away with it.
There you go.
Well, and then we have this final scene with, before that, bad Valentine stabs the real or good Valentine.
Sebastian.
Valentine,
Yeah.
Sebastian.
Yeah.
It's like, wait.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Hold
there's
on.
two
Section of this that I
Valentines
missed,
too?
Yeah.
Did you guys miss that?
Yeah,
Did
we,
you know
we
there's
must
two
have missed that.
Valentines?
Valentine's now?
Yeah, no, Sebastian.
Got it. Yeah.
He stabs the good one, and we're not really sure what's going to happen with that, but we do see that Sebastian is the one that takes Valentine to this other place. He kills this dude, Duncan, had been threatening his family.
And what happens with his family? I'm assuming they probably are going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, but almost definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so sad. Like,
He's not good at
That's
keeping
sad.
his promises.
no.
And then he turns into this burned demon-looking thing. Valentine just goes, "What do you want from me?" And he says, "Hello, Father."
Yeah.
And Valentine's face is priceless.
Yeah.
I watched it at like 12:30 last night, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have nightmares trying to sleep. Great.
Yeah, it was pretty grim. Yeah, so yeah, we've got another little
We're gonna-
Star Warsy style.
Yeah.
moment
Yeah,
going
find
on.
out a
Was-
lot more about that.
Was
I know.
that Will Tudor underneath all of that, or was that?
I don't remember. No, I
Oh.
don't think so.
Okay.
It wasn't
because the voice was different too.
Yeah, we had. Oh, was it? That was
I
interesting.
think so. Maybe.
Unless it was a sound effect.
Yeah,
Maybe,
could
yeah,
have
it might have been
obviously
added
done
on.
that. Yeah.
The only reason that we didn't use Will, because Will could have done that in his sleep, was makeup turnaround. So there just wasn't
Oh.
physically enough time to put him in Birdman.
Yeah.
We just couldn't do it. There's no way, because that takes about 7 hours,
Wow.
6-7
Oh,
hours.
Well, the thing about Sebastian is now I found someone that I like, or that I hate worse than
Than Valentine. Yeah.
Than I hate more.
Yeah, well, I mean, what we'll learn, the difference between, and we've kind of touched on it earlier, the difference between Valentine and Sebastian is Sebastian doesn't really have remorse. He doesn't
Yeah,
really
I can
have
see
any
that.
of that. That's not really who he is. But it's interesting that we're gonna define this parallel between obviously Jason and Jonathan and Sebastian, because they both have this fathership like thing with Valentine. They both have that
Yeah.
same thing, and what we find more and more is that they're like very, very closely put. They're almost like two sides of the same coin, but have been separated for like in their entire lives. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, and we're going to discover more and more about that, and obviously more about him.
Yeah.
I
If
was
they
gonna
end up
s-
working together, we're doomed.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
we're doomed.
Well, we want to get into as many questions as we
Yes.
possibly can.
Sure.
So let's see. I am going to start off with Bane and Lewis.
Yeah.
He says, "Can you tease us anything about your big stunt scene you mentioned in your live videos?" Do you do live videos? I was
Not really.
maybe it was a
like, when did I
freeform
do a
thing.
Or maybe when you did like
May have been,
the
yeah.
takeover.
It
you know.
was, yeah, I'm always drunk on those. I think it was the jump that happened into the Sealy realm. I think that's what they were talking
Okay.
about. And what's frustrating about this is they didn't let me do it.
Oh.
I trained for it, and there are videos online of me doing it, but on the day it was too dangerous for me to do it. So my wonderful stuntman Aaron, he took over, and you know, he's as much Jace as I am in those moments, so he did it.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
All right, let's throw it to you to go. to.
Okay, yeah, at Nephilim Updates wants to know, what can you tell us about the growth of the Parabatai bond between you and Alec, or the challenges that they face? Because it's different
It's going to
now.
be more challenges than it is anything else
Yeah.
towards the end of this season. There's a real tear between the two of them at the end, a real heartbreaking like divide between Jace and Alec right at the end of the season.
No, not again.
No.
Not the same.
Not the same.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's like
Can't.
it's you'll see.
They
I
used
can't
to
say
do.
anything.
I mean, they
You'll
used to
see,
do
yeah.
everything together, you know, and it just seems like, for being parabatized, they're so distant right now.
Well, so we do see them together more and more as
Okay.
well,
Okay.
which is, I know I'm just like throwing like dichotomous phrases out at the moment, but like we do see them together more and more, and then not.
Okay.
All right, throw it to you, Becca.
You can go first.
Okay, so Yatesy Yates at
Sure.
Luke's Magnus said, "Is it really nothing serious between Jace and Maya? Jace's smile when she's mentioned says otherwise."
Yeah. Yes, it is. It was a kind of a one-time thing, just two people giving into like their biology and their like passions in that moment.
And their
You know,
feelings.
As much as we don't like that answer, because I actually do like them
I
together.
liked that scene.
But now that Simon and Clary are apparently taking a bit of a siesta, because I was like, okay, I want to see Jace happy if Clary's going to be happy with Simon. But now that that's over, I'm okay with it not working.
Sure.
With that being said, also, it's kind of real life. Sometimes that happens.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
and
yeah.
I'm
And
glad
I don't
that they
think
did
there's
that.
anything wrong with that either. Like, you know, they have had this kind of tumultuous relationship, but there was always this kind of undercurrent of like electricity and attraction, and they gave into it for that moment, and they're going to be important in each other's lives for, you know, the foreseeable future, and that's just what that was.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, so at Tessa1 Herondale1 wants to know, what's it like to work with Will, and is it hard to keep your American accent with him? Since he gets to
It
be
actually is.
yeah.
It is. It's a little harder, and it is a little bit harder than obviously working with the American guys. But that's one of the main reasons that I keep my accent up throughout the shooting day. So when I get picked up, it starts, and I don't turn it off until we're done with the shooting day. And that's one of the main reasons, is because, you know, with any kind of influences, it can change, and naturally my body wants to revert back to how I talk. So yeah, it's something that we have to kind of work on. But he's such a good actor, and I've known Will for years. We used to work together years ago in London, so I've known Will for a long time, and he's great. It's a real pleasure to work with him.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
But then a little part of you is like, why do you get to talk like you usually talk?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
To be honest, I kind of forget on the show that you have an accent.
It's interesting. Like some of our crew didn't know until the rap party, because they
Really?
they don't ever see me with a British accent.
Wow.
Good. How funny is
That's-
that?
Pretty great.
So, or go ahead, Becca. You have one.
Sabina asked, what would you do if you could spend the day with your character?
Tell him to stay away from Clary. Like, from minute one, just like stay away. You're gonna meet this redhead, just like stay away from her, because she's gonna cause you all sorts of problems.
Right. Be like, yeah, she's this beautiful lady. She, you know, she's actually more of a strawberry blonde, but she dyes her head bright red.
Yeah, that's right.
Stay away.
Stay away.
I'm just kidding. We love you, Kat.
Oh, we were talking about Kat? Same answer.
I have actually a really funny question. It's called Jace Lady Forever. Tessa
Love that.
Herondale. Yeah. What is your favorite weapon so far? And is Kat as fierce with her sword as she looked in season 2, episode 12? It looked
Yeah.
like she was going all out.
Yeah, she does. She does, Kat. She, you know, you want to learn your choreography, right? Because if she misses, she's gonna hit you. Like, if I'm not in the way, she's gonna hit you. She really goes for it. Which is not something that's afforded to me, because my sword is so big and so heavy that if I would have hit little old Kat, I'd do some real damage.
Right.
So I mean, you never want to hit anyone, but
No.
like, yeah, you have to be really careful with them. So yeah, she goes for it. She really goes for
You
it.
can
And
tell.
Yeah, my choreography needs to be correct with her.
Definitely.
Yeah, and so you love your sword. I would, you know.
I do. My sword from the beginning of season 2, because obviously we changed them up this year, and I was called into props, and Tony, our props designer, brought me in, and he kind of showed me this original design for the new sword, which had been made for like my grip size and like for my height and stuff. And we spoke about it, and he said it's a little bit long, right? And I was like, yeah, it's too like. It was 6 inches bigger than the one that I ended up using, so they brought them back and they wrapped them and had them all finished, and I held it, and that was it. That was Jace's sword. That was my sword.
Love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We've talked about like how this show has like stepped it up so much since season 1, and like every episode I'm more and more impressed.
Oh, that's very sweet. Yeah.
Definitely. Alec Noir wants to know, will Jace and Simon talk about what happened in the Sealy court?
Not really. No, not really. It's kind of because I think Simon, as you said, knows that there was no ill will there. It wasn't done maliciously. It was just an exploration of feeling, which potentially, if the roles were reversed, Simon might have done the same thing. So it's kind of unspoken between the two of them that it's happened. It wasn't either of their faults. It wasn't anybody's fault except for the Queen. Let's just leave it.
All right. So we have Monica from Twitter that asked if there was a blooper section at the end of each episode, who would always show up?
Me and Matt. Me and Matt always. We're terrible, like really terrible when we get together, and then one of us will go, and then that's the other one gone. Like and then we're gone for about an hour, and then we're behind, and everyone gets pissed at us. Like it's a real issue when one of us laughs. It's a real, especially when we like improvise little bits and we kind of bounce off each other. Sometimes that can be like real. I think he got me in 214 when they were talking about Kaylee and who Kaylee is, and I was like, book club, and he kind of made that face. Yeah. And I caught it out of the corner of one eye. I was like, son of a bitch, man, that's gonna make me laugh. That's gonna make me laugh, and I just have to try really hard to keep it together.
Oh,
I'm like, I don't know what kind of book club that is, but I was like, okay.
We were talking with Alberto when he was here, and there needs to be a blooper reel.
There needs to be.
They're out there somewhere. Yeah, they exist. I just don't know where. I'll talk to them. I'll see what.
Yeah, you talk to them. Okay, yeah. Tell them AfterBuzz said so.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, did Dario
don't.
blank you wants to know, did you manage to scare
Don't.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah, wow, okay. Did you manage to scare Kat on when shooting 2B, and if yes, what did you do?
No, the pranks kind of took a bit of a backseat in 2B, and I think it's because what Jace was going through was like really dark, dark emotional stuff, and it was really, it's quite hard work to get into that place so regularly. Yeah. So they kind of took a bit of a back seat. So hopefully when it gets all cheerier in season 3, I'll start scaring people again.
Yeah, that actually is one of the questions. Queen Clay says, how is it personally to face so many more emotional changes in Jace this season?
It's really tough. Like, it's really hard work to, not only experience them as the actor, because you have to feel these emotions, but 9 times out of 10 then fight them and put on like a brave face. So these emotions are there, and you put yourself in Jace's shoes and feel what Jace feels, and then fight them, and then every now and then let it go, like we saw on the roof with Alec and Jace. Like, really just let all of your emotions kind of flood loose. And it happens again. The 1920s was really hard work. It was like both physically and emotionally for me. It was that was probably the hardest I've worked on anything.
Wow. We have time for one last question. I'm sorry, you guys. Cool. You gave so many amazing ones. I wish we had hours to talk about them. But, okay, Anessa says, what has been the most memorable moment thus far since you've joined Shadowhunters?
Wow.
Some big questions. We're ending it for the finale.
Yes.
It is. It's the finale of this season. It is insane. It's insane.
Wow.
Like, it took about... the big kind of event that I'm talking about took about 3 days to film, and when it was done, we all looked at each other, me and the other 2 actors that we're working with, who I won't give away because it will ruin it, but like me and the other 2 actors that we're working with, we kind of all came away a bit in awe of each other and the crew and everything that had just kind of come together, and like that was exactly what that was supposed to be. And that's when oh no, I can't say that because that'll give it away. No, I can't say that. I very nearly. But yeah, that's some of those, like those things that we were talking about where emotions just kind of happen, like they're organic, they just happen in those moments. That is a prime example of that right at the end of 20.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, me too.
Thank you so much for coming back in, Dom. We love having you. And don't forget to follow him on social media. Dakota's got this right here.
At Dom Sherwood 1.
Yeah.
I got you, man. I'll just follow you around and just,
That'd be great.
Well, what's your Twitter? At Dom Sherwood.
Yeah. I should write it down.
Right. Get it a tattoo right here.
It's my name with 1 after it. I should remember that, right?
I remember now. I'll remember forever.
Yes.
Okay, Dakota, what about you?
And you guys can find me everywhere at Mr. Dakota T. Jones.
Y'all can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV.
And you guys can find me, Sam Davidson, at samdavidsonentertainment.com, Twitter and Instagram at SamD43. Thank you again, Dom, for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Dream come true. We always love having you, and you're always welcome here. Tune in next week, and we love you guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
See you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.